Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this District Planning Committee meeting on the 7th of March 2024. For the benefit of people watching online, on my left is my Vice Chairman, Councillor Sweatman. On my right is Steve Ashdown, the Senior Planning Officer, and to his right is Paul Weeks, our solicitor for today. In the corners are members of Democratic Services who will be taking the minutes and organising the technology for this afternoon. So, first item on the agenda is to receive apologies. I have apologies from Councillor Kennedy and Councillor Peacock. Item 2, to receive declarations of interest from members in respect of any matter on the agenda today. Councillor Bates.
Just for the sake of openness, Chairman, I am a member of a local athletics club, although I'm not representing them or anything like that.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who's any declarations?
I'm a member of from Parish Council in my parish.
Okay.
Not in my district ward.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Item 3, can members agree that the minutes of the meeting of the 18th January 2024 are a true record and that I can sign them?
Agree.
Thank you. Item 4, to consider any items that the Chairman agrees to take as urgent business. I have none. So we now moved on to the substantive part of the business. Item recommended for approval, DM 233182, Burgess Hill Northern Arc, land north and northwest of Burgess Hill between Beadlands Nature Reserve in the east and Goddard's Green Waste Water Treatment Works in the west. I'll ask Louise to make a presentation, please.
Thank you, Chairman. The site is located in Burgess Hill to the north of Gatehouse Lane. To the east of the site is the new Western Link Road that has been constructed between the A2300 and Jane Murray Way as part of the Brookley development. To the west of the site is the Priory Hospital, and there are 3 residential properties located to the south, here, here, and here. The area to the north of the site is currently unoccupied, having been previously used as a compound for the Western Link Road development. This area will eventually become the Brookley employment site. The area opposite the site to the east is proposed to become the Western Neighbourhood Centre, along with residential development, again part of the Brookley development. Just to give members a bit of background, the Centre for Outdoor Sport is an aspiration that was originally set out in the Burgess Hill town-wide strategy as one of the key pieces of infrastructure needed in Burgess Hill. The Brookley Master Plan, shown here on the left, which was adopted by MSDC in 2018, identified this site for the Centre of Outdoor Sport. That's down here on the left. The Outline Planning Permission, which was granted in 2019, established the principle of the Centre for Outdoor Sport on this site, and as such, it is the reserved matters of access, layout, scale, appearance and landscaping that members are being asked to consider today. This slide shows a layout of the site. The site would have its main access here from the new Western Link Road. The Bellmouth has already been constructed as part of this development, which is nearing completion. The access road will lead through here to the car park and along to the changing pavilion. The green circle, which is shown here on the left of the plan, would be positioned to the west of the site, and this will be suitable for pedestrians, cyclists and equestrian users. This will link up with the existing green circle, which currently ends here on Gatehouse Lane. The green circle will end to the north of the site here, and that will eventually run through the employment site, over the A2300 and through the Brookley development, all the way to Maple Drive. The green circle enables a secondary access for those travelling by sustainable means. Finally, a pedestrian and cycle route will enter the site into the north in between the two pitches to the pavilion. This will link into what will eventually become an east to west cycle route through the employment site that will link across to the Western Neighbourhood Centre. The proposal includes the provision of 2 full-size 3G pitches, one shown here on the left for football and this one shown here on the right for rugby. Both the 3G pitches would be floodlit to enable them to be used in the evenings. The pavilion building would be positioned between the 2 pitches here. This would have an area of hard standing surrounding it. There would be a children's play area positioned to the south of the 3G football pitch here. Turning to the south of the site, this would have more of a parkland character and would contain grass football pitches comprising an adult football pitch, 2 under 9 to 10 football pitches and 1 under 13 to 14 football pitch. A cricket pitch would also be provided in this area. This would have an artificial wicket positioned here between the football pitches, and the field would overlap with the grass football pitches. Two suds ponds are located to the west of the site, to the east of the site here and here. These were constructed as part of the Western Link Road development and are nearing completion. This slide shows a CGI of the site showing how the site could look. Here are the 2 3G pitches here and here to the north of the site, the pavilion in the centre here, the car park here adjacent to the site entrance, and the grass pitches down here in the south of the site. The site entrance will be framed by a gabion wall with signage and retained trees, creating a sense of arrival for visitors. The pavilion itself would be simple in scale and form. It would be clad with timber cladding and aluminium framing. An entrance canopy would be provided with signage above. Feature seating areas would adjoin each side of the building. This CGI shows an image of the pavilion across the 3G football pitch. In this image, you can also see the fencing. 4.5 metre high fencing will surround the pitches on the majority of the sides. The pavilion itself would comprise a small reception area with access to the football pitch, a staff office and kitchenette, 4 team changing rooms, 2 officials changing rooms, an accessible changing room, along with a plant room and kit bag storage. The pavilion has been sited so that it could expand in the future with community space, should the funding and desire become available. 104 car parking spaces would be provided in the car park. This would include 6 accessible spaces, 5 carer and child spaces, and 2 EV charging spaces. A further 19 spaces would be enabled for future charging points. 40 cycle parking spaces would be provided as a mixture of covered and uncovered spaces, both adjacent to the pavilion and in the southern area, near to the grass pitches. The proposal would result in the loss of 22 individual high-quality trees and the removal or partial removal of 6 high-quality groups of trees. Whilst this is a large quantity of high-quality trees, officers are satisfied that where possible, trees have been retained. In particular, high-quality oaks have been retained around the entrance and along the access road and either side of the pavilion building. Groups of trees along the western side boundary and the wooded area in the south of the site would be retained, along with groups of trees in the southeast of the site. Some tree loss was anticipated at outline stage on this plot of land. Mid Sussex's tree officer has assessed the proposal and has not raised an objection to the scheme, subject to a satisfactory landscaping scheme to replace the lost trees and enhance the development. A landscaping scheme has been received, which includes a significant amount of replanting. Mid Sussex's tree officer would like to see a larger quantity of oaks replanted than is currently proposed, and as such, a condition has been recommended to secure full details of the landscaping and ensure that some of the oaks that have been lost will be replaced on this site. The landscaping scheme also includes mown paths around the southern end of the site, mixed with benches and play on the way structures. A terrace seating area, an example of which is shown here, has been incorporated into the northwestern corner of the grass pitches to deal with the levels changes. The tree trunks from felled trees would be used to frame the site and provide an informal boundary. Turning to sustainability, the building is designed to be highly sustainable by a number of measures, including PV panels and air source heat pumps, which will provide for the heating and hot water requirements of the building. The building will be built in line with Part L of the building regulations. The proposal would be acceptable in relation to noise. Acoustic fencing is being provided here, adjacent to the boundary with Gatehouse Farm, and here, alongside the 3G football pitch. These will protect the closest residents from unacceptable levels of noise. Noise will also be managed through a noise management plan that is secured by a recommended condition. This will restrict timings of the use of the 3G pitches to no later than 10 p.m, and for the grass pitches, restrict the times to Saturday and Sunday mornings. The 3G pitches will both have lighting. The lighting is designed to project the light onto the pitches and limit the light spill to the surrounding areas, as you can see from this light spill diagram, which shows where light will spill outside of the pitches. Surrounding residents are therefore protected from unacceptable levels of light pollution. I've just got some site photographs to show you taken from the air. The site boundary follows this field boundary here. So this area here would be the football 3G pitch. This area here would be the rugby 3G pitch, with the pavilion located in the centre of them. You can just about make out here on the left of the photo the site access that, as I said, has already been constructed. That will come into the site, come round here with a car parking area just to the south of the rugby pitch. The grass pitches would be located down in this area to the south of the site, and this hedge that you can see forms the boundary with Gatehouse Lane. The green circle will run up an existing access that comes off Gatehouse Lane, up here, around these trees, and follow the site boundary for you to the exit of the site. This photograph shows the southern area of the site in more detail. So this is the area where the grass pitches will be located. This is the closest residential property, Gatehouse Farm, whose boundary extends up here and round, and the green circle will run the other side of their boundary. The two other closest residential properties are located just off the photograph here. In this photograph, you can also see one of the Suds ponds, which has been constructed as part of the Western Link Road development and will form part of the site. And up here will be where the 3G rugby pitch will be located. Again, this just shows the site in more detail. This is the southern end of the site that we were just talking about. I'd like to draw members' attention to the update sheet that's been circulated today. This provides some amendments to the report. It provides additional, the comments from the Environmental Health Officer that weren't available at the time the report was originally published, along with some consideration of his comments and amendments to the conditions as a result of comments from the applicant, comments from the Environmental Health Officer, and to update the approved drawings. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Louise. Right, we now move on to the speakers, and just to remind you that each speaker has 3 minutes. Once you reach the 3 minutes, I'll ask you to finish in one sentence. I will try and point out to you when you have a minute left. The clock will start on the bottom, from where I'm sitting, the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So the first speaker is Lucy Venables, who's speaking against. Would you like to? Yeah, if you could sit where the microphone is there. And the 3 minutes will start once you start to speak.
Okay, all right. I'm here representing Burgess Hill and St Francis Hockey Clubs, 517 active playing members and further 800 supporters. We're concerned and disappointed that despite our feedback that the new Centre for Sport continues without change. We've been in talks with the council about this for many years with a promise of new facilities seemingly no longer focused on sports, but mostly football. The Mid-Sussex strategy in terms of playing pitches and the decision that this has been made on contains several areas of concern. The data is now 12 years out of date in relation to sports participation and demand. The local area has experienced a significant increase in population in that time, and further development associated with this site will actually increase that yet further. As a result, both of our clubs have now become much larger in size, and the participation and demand is higher than this suggests. A key difference with most of the sports that are involved in the strategy, and indeed with this site, is that they can all be played on grass. Hockey, you can't. The strategy itself makes several commitments that we just want to highlight as part of this process. The strategy makes an assumption that hockey can be played on any artificial pitch. As we have repeatedly said, hockey cannot be played on 3G, 4G or 5G pitches, and therefore all references within this that say hockey can be used in this way, can be played in this way, are incorrect. This has actually led to an undercalculation of the number of available pitches for hockey in the district, with a deficit of 4. The strategy also references the artificial pitch at St Paul's School and the current provision, which is that you're saying is suitable for hockey. However, in 2021, this pitch was converted to 4G and is no longer available for us to use. There's been no replacement at St Paul's, and both our clubs believe that the Centre for Sport would include this replacement, yet it hasn't. The current strategy demonstrates there's actually a surplus of 8 football pitches in the district. We are therefore very confused and concerned that the proposed Centre for Sport has yet another artificial football pitch and is next door to St Paul's School that's only recently been converted to be used to football when we have a deficit of 4 pitches. The calculations also used for demand are flawed, as it suggests that there is no demand for hockey on a Saturday when all league games have to be played on a Saturday. We are asking for one of the pitches to be changed to be multi-surface and suitable for hockey. This is a small change to the plans that should not make any difference to costs or design, and means that football can still be played as well as hockey, and this would truly mean that the site is actually a centre for sport and we can continue to offer choice for our community. Burgess Hill Hockey Club celebrated 75 years last year. We have club members from age 6 through to our oldest player who's 75, and we pride ourselves on being a family-oriented club. We're having to turn away children at the moment because we do not have enough facilities to provide support for their sports dreams. In terms of me, 27 years ago, I was one of those children, and I benefited from having the new Triangle facility on site. And I went on to play for Sussex, and I've also represented the South East. As chair of the club now, I'm asking you just please to not let down our hockey future and consider the adjustments that we're asking for.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw that. I can see that. I can't see the green very well. The other one is bigger. Right, okay. Okay, there are 3 speakers for the proposal. The first one is Richard Strange. Right, again, you've got 3 minutes and the time will start when you start speaking.
Today to first of all say I'm a supporter of the project for having the community for sport. I've lived in the town all of my life. My father was heavily involved in the administration of our local football club in Burgess Hill and football generally across Sussex. I've played football for Burgess Hill Town Football Club and the local junior football club Southdown Rovers, and have been chairman of both Southdown Football Club and general manager of Burgess Hill Town Football Club. Indeed, when I was running the football club over 10 years ago, the project was being discussed with us and the other clubs around the town, the rugby and cricket clubs too. So I know it's been planned for a long time, and I'm here purely as I've been connected to sport in the town and have volunteered for some of the clubs and know a little bit more than others what these facilities mean and the opportunities that they can provide. The volunteers at the cricket club in St John's Park are working tirelessly to get an improved facility over the line, which will provide facilities for meetings, events, and of course, during the summer, their cricket needs. They don't even own the building, but they are working their socks off to help gain the town a better multi-use facility for meetings, etc. So my first point is regarding what was described as the clubhouse. I think today it's been described as a pavilion, but it was described as a clubhouse, and as described for the community of sport. So is it a clubhouse or a changing room building? I think it's been clarified today that it's more of a changing room building, which I think is a shame. I was excited to think that there would be another facility in the town that has meeting facilities, a bar and a kitchen that can be a multi-use facility and also used for sports club events. If the Community for Sport ensures that these facilities are included in the final plans, there will be money-making opportunities for the council to rent out the lounge, the bar, the meeting facilities in what they have described as a clubhouse, which leads you to believe that these facilities are part of the plan. My current role is for a local insurance broker in Burgess Hill, and I do a lot of meetings where these sorts of facilities are needed. So there is a need for new meeting facilities such as the Anstey Social Club, which has is a great example of a place that you can hire out for all types of events, meetings.
1 minute.
How long left?
Just under 1 minute.
Okay. So my point is about the terminology of the clubhouse. Is it a clubhouse or is it a changing room facility? My second point is purely to do with the quality of the 3G pitches and the running track. If we're going to have a running track, let's do it right. It was described as a tarmac track of 60 metres or yards. In terms of health, if you speak to local health professionals who have to deal with the sorts of injuries that affect knees and ankles, they will tell you it's largely to do with people running on hard surfaces, roads, pavements and the like. So if we're going to have a token short running track, please make sure it looks impressive, has some bounce to it, and is less demanding on the knees and ankle joints of the people using it. The better it looks and the better quality of the materials used to build it.
Could you finish up, please?
Yeah, so my point is really the quality of the building that we are producing. Can it be used for other events, meetings, etc., and family occasions? And just to make sure that the 3G pitch and the running track are the best quality that we can produce, not just a token tarmac.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, the next speaker is Nicholas Milner. Right, again, you've got 3 minutes and the time will start when you speak.
Good afternoon, Chair, committee members. My name is Nicholas Milner and I'm the lead for Brookley at Homes England. In our role as the government's housing and regeneration agency, Homes England seeks to deliver high quality and sustainable places. Homes England is the joint applicant for this Reserve Matters application and master developer for Brookley. We're just not committed to delivering 3,500 high quality new homes, but also high quality infrastructure and community facilities such as the Centre for Outdoor Sport to meet local need while respecting and enhancing the environment. At Brookley, Homes England will provide over 82 hectares of new green space. That's almost half the total area of the development. 9 hectares of this space is specifically allocated for the new Centre for Outdoor Sport. This facility will effectively form an outdoor extension to Triangle Leisure Centre, providing high quality, publicly owned sports pitches for the Burgess Hill community. Homes England has contributed the land to Mid Sussex District Council, along with payments towards the building and maintaining the centre as part of the Section 106 agreement. We have worked closely with our partner, Mid Sussex District Council, in bringing forward this important centre for outdoor sport, which will not just benefit the new community at Brookley, but also the existing community. We have worked hard since the master planning stage for Brookley to ensure a community sports facility meets local need. This includes engaging with Sport England, other key stakeholders and local sports clubs. Through positive pre-application advice and design review panels, Mid Sussex District Council have designed a centre which meets the overarching aims of Brookley, including the design guide and our sustainability standards. While tree loss and hedgerows will need to be removed to allow the development of the site, a new planting scheme ensures there's no overall tree loss. That biodiversity targets are met and felled trees will be repurposed on site to boost ecology
1 minute left.
and reduce waste. Felled logs will be repurposed and used on site for protection, new habitats and seating and play features. Homes England is committed to protecting, enhancing and creating habitat for native British wildlife and increasing biodiversity. It is important to note that Brookley will deliver an estimated 200,000 new trees and shrubs will be planted, and Homes England is predicting to provide a 23% overall biodiversity net gain. Homes England considers the Centre for Outdoor Sport will contribute to a high-quality, sustainable neighbourhood, and the proposals exceed both national and local planning policy. We support the officer's recommendation for approval. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Right, the final speaker is Richard Thompson. Right, again, 3 minutes and the time will start when you start speaking.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Richard Thompson, a director at Hadron Consulting, and we specialise in the delivery of sport and leisure facilities. We're the appointed project managers for the scheme on behalf of Mid Sussex District Council. The Centre for Outdoor Sport is a hugely exciting investment by the Council and Homes England, which will make a significant contribution towards the Council's vision to maximise opportunities for sport and physical activity for all across the district. It is, however, acknowledged that the evidence-led approach we have taken to inform the final facility mix means that some specific sporting groups have been left disappointed that no provision has been made for their particular sport on site. It's therefore really important to remember that whilst the Centre for Outdoor Sport is a key element of the work the Council is doing to deliver on the recommendations of the Mid-Sussex Play and Pitch Strategy of 2018, it is just one piece of a much larger jigsaw. The facility mix for the site should not be viewed in isolation, but in the context of the Play and Pitch study and the Council's Green Spaces strategic vision. These documents identify the key sporting and recreation priorities and areas for investment across the district over the coming years, and through this work there will be a particular focus on supporting the delivery of projects that address the needs of those sports that have not been provided for here. The facilities to be provided on the site are largely the same as the facility mix set out on an indicative master plan presented during extensive consultation in 2022, with additional parking areas to meet perceived demand and mitigate overspill parking on adjacent roads. In March 2023, a public exhibition was held at the Triangle to present the proposed site arrangements. After further consultation with clubs and England Athletics, it was agreed the small athletics track being proposed should be removed to allow a potentially more coordinated athletics offer to be developed elsewhere. Concerns have been raised that hockey facilities are not to be provided at this site. It should be noted that hockey was not identified to be included at the CFOS site in the Play and Pitch strategic implementation plans of August 2019.
1 minute.
And that the Council are actively working to establish an additional hockey facility elsewhere in the local area. The sporting facilities to be provided here have strict design criteria, and we have worked incredibly hard as a project team to meet as many requirements as possible, whilst working within the constraints of the site, such as topography, ecological considerations and tree loss, and also considering feedback from the design review panel and Homes England. We consider the proposals an outstanding and viable community offer, arranged as sympathetically as possible across the site, and to be delivered at a time when public facilities are closing or struggling to be maintained. I do hope you're able to support this application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, before we go to the members, is there anything you'd like to say in reply to the speakers, Louise?
Just one point of clarification, which I think Richard has said as well, there is no athletics track being proposed on this site.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, I open the floor to members. Councillor Bates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to ask a few questions. First of all, I mean, just the last point about the running track. There's something shown to the left-hand side of the football pitch, 3G. What exactly is that for? The other points I wanted to clarification on is the car parking, 104 parking spaces. Perhaps it's not too bad. I'm looking in relation to Whiteman's Green, which is a place that I use, and how it gets overspilled. So I'd be interested to know if that 104 spaces will be sufficient, or whether we might have to think about using the triangle as an overspill. I think that probably the question of the on page, long way down in here, about the athletics, loss of the athletics clubs issue. There was a major consultation with local clubs, but there's no mention of it in the report. So why is that? Page 96 talks about a compact athletics. Well, it seems that that's 0, if I'm correct. So basically the point, and very interesting, some of the speakers there, particularly a bit confused about number 2, about the football club issue. And, well, we take it that the support from our 2 consultants is part of the report. So the points I was going to come back here for is, in addition to the Sport England's objection, I would be moving a referral of this matter, because it does not do justice to this particular site, which is highlighted as a strategic location and aspiration. So, like, there's the mention of the hockey, which we've had a speaker on. Likewise, the cricket is not really, is inadequate for what it's doing. We talked about the athletics. Interestingly, the football club did mention, and I picked this up 10 years ago, there was supposed to be some dialogue and proposal to relocate Burgess Hill Football Club to this sort of area. And I'm just looking at the fact that that football club site would offer up a good affordable housing location. And I think that football would be a better suited to this particular site we're talking about here. And in fact, when Burgess Hill played in the FA Cup against Dartford, I went to the Dartford site football club, and they've done an interesting relocation there. So I think that's a good case study.
Can I remind members that we are just looking at reserve matters here today?
Yeah, well, that's one of the problems, but, you know, some of these matters have been mentioned by other speakers, Mr. Chairman. So we had a site visit. Members stood on a very wet grass pitch area. It was very flooded. I've been to Whiteman's Green in recent weeks on a Saturday at 3 p.m, where there's a lot of football pitches, a lot of rugby pitches. No sport was being taken place there because it was a waterlogged pitch. So I'm very concerned. I'm also very concerned that we're only using those pitches on a Saturday and Sunday, if I hear right.
I would make one comment that all the games in the county were off last Saturday and the previous 2 Saturdays because of the weather conditions. It certainly wasn't just Whiteman's Green.
I appreciate you interrupting me, Mr. Chairman, but the thing is that people are saying, we're building a 3G pitches here, and then suddenly we're not. So, you know, we need some clarification on there, and I'm just reporting to you, and you had experience of walking on a very wet area, and it's going to be put over to football or cricket, and cricket and rugby. So I'm just likening it to another site visit. Not all pitches are so wet. And also, I did ask a question about the facility there, whatever we want to call it, club room or changing rooms or whatever. But there is actually no public toilet 24/7 for use of people that might be particularly walking around the green circle and might want to pop in and use the loo. So I'm very concerned about that issue as well. Thank you.
Do you want to answer any of that, Louise, or shall
Well, I've asked a few
prefer to move on?
questions and it might be suitable to pick them up
Yeah,
now.
I'm chairing the meeting, yeah, councillor. Would you like to?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So firstly, just in relation to the area that you referred to the left of the 3G pitch, so between the 3G football pitch and the green circle, this is a soil bund which is being created as a result of the levelling of the football pitches and the rugby pitch. As you'll be aware, sports pitches do need to have a level or relatively level playing surface, and as a result of that there is some soil that would be left over from the site. In order to avoid transporting that off site, this would be deposited here in order to create a soil bund. Turning to your next question in relation to the car parking, 104 spaces have been provided. The Highway Authority is satisfied that that is a sufficient level of car parking spaces to meet the demands of the pitches. In addition to that, the Highway Authority have recommended a couple of conditions. The first relevant one is in relation to timings for pitch hire, and they've required the timings of the pitch hire to be staggered in order to ensure there is sufficient time for people to leave after one match before people arrive for the next match, in order to avoid sort of double the amount of people being on site and departures and arrivals not taking place next to each other. They've also recommended a condition to require a car park management plan, and that is condition 18, and that requires details of how that car park is going to be managed, how the provider is going to monitor the use of the car park, and for the provider to monitor any parking that happens on the Western Link Road. Once Brookley develops in the future, it is anticipated that there will be overspill car parking potentially available in the Western Neighbourhood Centre parcel opposite, in the employment land to the north. There's also the availability of overspill car parking on Gatehouse Lane, and it may well be that the use of the site could intensify once more car parking becomes available, depending on that monitoring. But the initial position is that those pitches, as I say, there need to be a gap between matches to allow people to depart from the site and allow the next match to arrive. The next question was in relation to consultation. So this was consultation that was carried out by the applicant in advance of the planning application. It's not usual for us to include details of that in our report, although the report contains details of all the consultation comments that we received as a result of the planning application. In addition to that, a statement of community involvement was submitted by the applicants as part of their planning documentation, and this is on the website as part of the application documents. Turning next to your next comment, which was in relation to Sport England's objection, members will see from the report that Sport England have objected to the proposal. However, that objection is specifically in relation to cricket provision only. They haven't objected in relation to the football provision on the site or the rugby provision on the site, or in relation to any other sports. There was concerns raised by the ECB in relation to some of the changing areas not being big enough, there not being a pavilion close to the cricket pitch. This site has been developed as a multi-sport facility, and it hasn't been possible to meet all the aspirations of all the pitches. There is a cricket provision provided on the site that can be used by cricket players during the season, and that's considered to be a benefit to the overall site, even if it isn't meeting the aspirations of the ECB. On a similar note, the proposed development is not intended to be a home ground for any particular club, any particular sport. It is intended to be a community facility that can be hired out by multiple clubs in order to complement existing facilities in Burgess Hill. So it's not the intention that a particular club will move in and take over the site, but it will enable those clubs to hire the facilities when they have the excess demand. Your next comment was in relation to the wet ground on site on Monday. As we're all aware, it has been a very wet winter. The ground on site is not currently managed by any type of drainage system. The proposal does include a comprehensive sustainable drainage scheme, both for the areas of hard standing in the north of the site and for the grass football pitches in the south of the site. That will help with management of use of these pitches. Inevitably, as is the nature of grass pitches, there may well be times when they are too waterlogged to use, but that is the nature of grass pitches here and elsewhere. In relation to the Saturday and Sunday use, that relates only to the grass pitches down the southern end of the site. They will only be used on a Saturday and Sunday morning. That is when the demand for these pitches takes place. In order to maintain grass pitches, they can't be used intensively without ongoing, well, there will be ongoing maintenance, but any sort of more intensive use of those pitches is likely to lead to deterioration. So it's a management decision to restrict use of those pitches to Saturday and Sunday mornings. The 3G pitches, however, at the north of the site, those surfaces will be able to use throughout the year in various weather conditions. They will be floodlit, so they can be used in the evenings, in the winter, and it's anticipated that those would have quite an intensive use, with use of those pitches up to 10 p.m. in the evenings. Finally, turning to the issue of toilets, there is 2 public toilets in the changing pavilion. They will be publicly accessible at all times that the pavilion is open, and as I say, we are expecting those 3G pitches to be intensively used, and so that pavilion will be open until 10 p.m. in the evening, and the public, any public that are using the external spaces to walk around, etc., use the green circle, will be able to go and use those public toilets. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Could I ask one question? You say they will be closing at 10. What time will they be opening the changing rooms?
I don't know at this stage. We're securing full details of timings via a noise management plan, and we'll get full details of the timings via that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, it's the next ward member, Rodney Jackson.
Right, thank you, Chairman. Councillor Bates has actually sort of referred to quite a number of points that I was going to sort of raise. First of all, of course, I visited there on Monday, and it was quite right, it was quite wet, so it's crucial that the water drainage system is adequately designed to cope with some of the extreme weather conditions that we are experiencing at the moment. The second thing is that it certainly provides quite a lot of facilities for football, association football, and a bit for rugby, which will supplement the present provision in places like Courtbushes and Berrylands in Hurstbeard Point, in Astor Park, and also in St John's Park in Burgess Hill, and various other facilities in the local towns and villages. In terms of athletics, and I refer to sort of section 2021, on page 36 of your documents, it says compact athletics facility. Do I understand that that's no longer will be provided? In terms of what was also said by one of the speakers, in terms of a clubhouse, there is a provision in the future of extending the pavilion for additional facilities, and that may well be something which could be added at a future date if that demand is really carefully made. In terms of the whole thing, it's quite an exciting development for providing sporting facilities, bearing in mind there's going to be something like the order of 4,000 additional houses on the Brookley estate, and that will provide a facility close to where they are. Also, I'm quite keen on also the active travel to be able to get to the site from the various areas to there, and that seems to have been addressed as well. So I think probably overall, I will prepare to accept and to support this application.
Thank you. Would you like to respond?
I've got no comments. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, sorry, can I just ask one thing that Councillor Jackson mentioned there? He did say there's provision for extending the pavilion at some stage. Is that correct?
Yes, Chairman. So the proposal, as you see it here, in white is the pavilion as it is currently proposed with the change in facilities. The pavilion has been cited to enable it to be expanded in the future to provide community space, kitchen space. The funding isn't available for this at this particular moment in time, but the building has been designed to enable that to take place in the future should it be needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, members need to remember that they are limited by the 106 funds that are available to complete this site. Councillor Avery.
Thank you very much, Chair. As a lifetime sports participant and coach myself, I've got experience of facilities down the years, and obviously I greatly welcome the facility overall. Some of the points raised by the speakers are, although not wanting to get into a long discussion about the quality of various pitches, but is it the case that slightly adjusting one of the 3G pitches would allow for the use of as a hockey pitch? And as far as the running track goes, the short running track, having run extensively all my life, I've got the knees to prove it, and it's mostly from surfaces like tarmac, basically. So is there not the potential to remove the tarmac and replace that with a Scotch surface or something like that? Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, in relation to hockey, just remind members that obviously you're here to assess the application in front of you and not what potentially could be provided. But to give a bit of background, I know that the design team and the applicants have looked into whether it would be possible to provide hockey on this site. It would require the replacement of the 3G surface with an alternative surface, and because of the lighting requirements for hockey, a significantly higher level of lighting would need to be provided on this site, which could result in ecology issues. So I know from the applicants, they are looking at provision for hockey elsewhere on the site, elsewhere in Burgess Hill. And as part of the original outline planning application, it was never intended that this site on its own could provide all of those sports facilities. In particular, it identified that the triangle could be enhanced and there would be the possibility of providing an additional hockey pitch on the triangle. Turning to the running track, there is no running track proposed as part of this scheme. When the applicants consulted on the application before their planning submission, the application did include a small running track, but this was limited in length, and after further design consideration, the applicants considered that actually it would be better to put an athletics facility elsewhere, given that there wasn't the space on the site to provide any meaningful running facility. The green circle does run through the site. Obviously, a large number of runners use the existing green circle, and it's anticipated that runners will continue to use this extended green circle, which, as I say, will eventually run through Brookley, all the way to down to Maple Drive. The surfacing for the green circle hasn't yet been agreed, but we do anticipate that this will be a similar surface to what is currently on the green circle elsewhere in Burgess Hill. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Prescott.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm just seeking a little bit of clarification, please, referring to page 88 and the tree officer's report. She quite rightly is highlighting the loss of the 22 Category A trees and noting it's regrettable. She does then make comment, though, on the proposed planting, that if you read through her comments, what is proposed is largely unsuitable by way of choice of species and some of the other sort of plants that are being proposed. And she absolutely says it and draws our attention to DP 37, which favours British native replacement trees, which greater use should be made of native aces and other native trees. She finishes off by saying, please condition the requirement for fresh landscaping plans. So my question is, have these been provided? And are they, if they have been provided, are they amended in line with her very wise recommendation? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Amended landscaping scheme has been received since those comments. However, it still doesn't address all of her concerns. So as a result, we still have a condition for landscaping, for a landscaping scheme to be provided. In particular, we would like to see the oaks that are being lost replaced with oak trees rather than any alternative
and the
tree
appropriate
species.
oak, because they're proposing Spanish oaks,
Yeah.
and so it's the appropriate oaks.
Absolutely, yeah, and that will be secured as part of the landscaping scheme. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Reeves.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'd like to back up Councillor Prescott on that. We want to see far more oaks in the scheme because we're losing 22. So a condition on that would be nice. This is a massive loss of biodiversity. I have to deplore the fact that there's no hockey in here in the plan. They now have to go up to Copthorne and Crawley to play hockey. This is really most regrettable. Surely, as Councillor Avery was saying, make the rugby pitch into just a grass pitch. It's surely cheaper not to make it a 3G pitch. The rugby club in Burgess Hill themselves have said they're worried about microplastic ingestion because rugby players spend a lot of time with their faces ground into the floor. So, you know, it would seem to be an obvious solution, and I don't think there'd be any ecological... because that is right by the road and all the trees will have been destroyed from there anyway. I'm not convinced the Gatehouse Farm plot is going to be adequately protected from cricket balls, the height of the fence. Also, why does the acoustic fence only go halfway up when The garden of Gatehouse is going to have another 5 houses in it soon, I hear. Springfield, in the southeast corner, what about their northern border? Lots of amenity. They've said that all the vegetation's been taken away there and they are now exposed. So it'd be good to look at that. I love the fact that the green circle is being extended through, and it's great to hear that it'll be a similar surface as what is used elsewhere on the green circle. Very much a shame that there's no running track, because there's none in the district at all, so they have to go to Lewes to practice. And I have to deplore 2 EV spaces out of 104, when the new district plan actually requires 100% EV spaces. I think this is really poor, and after all, this is one of the facilities where there is dwell time. That's where you want EV charging points 100%. So I'd like to see a condition with more, far more than we've got now. But my main concern is the oak trees. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise.
Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, in relation to the cricket balls, the application was accompanied by a ball strike report, which assessed the likely trajectory of balls being hit and where they would land, and it wasn't considered that there was likely to be an unacceptable impact on Gatehouse Farm. In relation to the acoustic fencing, which only extends halfway up the Gatehouse Farm boundary, Gatehouse Farm is located here, down at the southern end, close to Gatehouse Lane itself. Their main area of amenity space is located just behind their property. The remainder of the site has, as you say, it's actually been sold off from Gatehouse Farm and is owned by a developer. We have a current planning application in for 5 houses on this site, but it is not the responsibility of this application to provide any sort of protection for those houses. That application hasn't been determined. We don't know yet as to whether that is acceptable in all other aspects. If that application proceeds, it will be for those applicants to demonstrate that any fencing, etc., is suitable for the future residents of that particular application. So it'll be for them to determine. This application does need to demonstrate that there's an acceptable impact on Gatehouse Farm, which I'm satisfied has been done. In relation to Springfield, so can't quite see that property, it's just off the CGI down here. There's been some landscape clearance immediately to the rear of that property. That's not part of this application, it is part of Brookley. It is part of the Western Link Road application. That landscaping has been cleared in order to create a suds pond and for them to work on the suds pond. We have a current Section 73 application on that particular reserve matters piece of Brookley, and we will secure replacement planting and landscaping for that scrub that has been lost through that Western Link Road Section 73, which is currently being considered. In relation to the EV charging points, the principles of EV charging were established in the outline planning permission, and the rate at which EV charging spaces needs to be provided was set out in the outline application and accepted at that point in time. Although there are only 2 EV charging points being provided as part of this proposal, there is a further 19 that are being enabled with the appropriate infrastructure to enable further EV charging spaces to be put in should the demand arise.
Thank you. Councillor Whitaker.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the other comments. Thank you for the presentation, Louise. First of all, this facility, people in East Grinstead would give their hind teeth to get a facility like this in our town. Absolutely fantastic. I am sympathetic to the hockey situation, and Lucy spoke very passionately and eloquently. So I'd like to know a little bit more. You mentioned twice now about the additional hockey facility, the what, when, kind of where, you know, the details of the timing of that potentially. I also seem to remember that about 18 months, 2 years ago, St Francis Club got quite a large 106 grant, substantial grant, for expansion of the club, and I think that was to do with hockey as well. I'm not sure if that's been project managed through to conclusion, but certainly around a couple of years ago. This will be a £5.5 million capital investment, which is significant, as Chairman said, from 106, fantastic investment. And also a point, I think, if you could maybe confirm, Louise, when we did the site visit, this will be early delivery as well. In a 106, it will be programmed for early delivery within sort of two and a half years. So that amount of infrastructure delivered early is a huge benefit. I do have sympathy for the shared surfaces if it can be done. You can never please everybody all the time. You can take all the hockey club letters on the portal, I understand that, so that they're peeved. If you could get a shared surface, which I'm not sure is possible from the sports experts, to cater for hockey and football, then that clearly would be a good flexible option that I would support, as Councillor Avery has said. The Burgess Hill Rugby Club pitch, I know from personal experience, been there many times with East Grinstead Rugby Club, is a poor standard of pitch. It floods consistently, so I'm sure they'd be thrilled with a 3G pitch that's literally down the road from them for training and for game purposes. So overall, I'm very supportive, and it's a fantastic facility.
Thank you. Do you want to make any comments?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. In relation to the what, when and where for the hockey pitch, I mean, unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that question. The playing pitch study, which was adopted in 2018, sets out the aspirations for hockey, but when that may take place, unfortunately, I don't know. As the planning authority, we're here to assess this application and the merits of this particular application that's in front of us today. So I'm afraid I can't answer that question. In relation to the St Francis Section 106, again, apologies, I don't know the answer to that question either. I would need to check that information and come back to you after the meeting. In relation to early delivery, I understand that the applicants are keen to get on site as soon as possible. Should planning permission be granted this afternoon, then I know they are hoping to get on site to start this month with a quite ambitious programme to get the 3G pitches and the pavilion and the car parking completed sometime this year, with the grass pitches to sort of follow. And finally, in relation to the shared surface, again, unfortunately, I'm not enough of a specialist to be able to comment. I do understand that it's difficult to provide the different surfaces for the different sports on one particular pitch, but I'm afraid I don't have any more specialist knowledge on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, as a former sportsman in my youth and now a spectator, I very much welcome this application. I would remind members that we are looking at the application in front of us and not the application that may or could be on there. I sincerely hope that if the application is approved today, that in the very near future facilities will be found for not only hockey but other sports that aren't appropriate aren't on this site. And in terms of the athletics, my understanding is that the athletics authorities said that there were enough 400-metre pitches in this area, and that they wouldn't support another one being built. Is that correct?
Yeah, I understand that the athletics governing bodies didn't want to see athletics provided on this site because they didn't want to draw users away from existing facilities elsewhere, which could undermine the viability of those particular facilities.
Thank you. Right, so do I have a proposer for this application?
I'll propose that, Chairman.
Councillor Jackson, the ward member, and
I'll second.
Councillor Swetman seconds. So can we go to the vote, please? Members, make their votes on the screens. Right, everyone has voted. That's 8 in favour, 2 against. The application is passed. And just for those on the people watching on the YouTube, it's recommended the Planning Commission is granted subject to the conditions set out in Appendix A. Right. Now move on to items recommended for refusal. There are none. Item 6, questions pursuant of Council Procedure Rule 10.2, due notice of which has been given. I have not received any, so I declare the meeting closed at 3:06. Could members please stay seated until the live stream's finished?